So I have this, it's not like a regular flannel, it is a woven fabric. I am sure it's got some polyester or something in it. I don't think maybe it's acrylic. Anyway, it's a nice plaid, and I want to make a Edwardian-ish skirt. I think I have enough here to cut 3 lengths and still have enough for pockets and a waistband. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the width of the fabric at the bottom for the front, and then I'm going to cut, I think I'm going to cut it so that it meets my waist measurement at the top, plus some seam allowance. And then I think I'm going to just leave the back pieces straight. I don't know, I might do a little bit of an angle at the sides, but keep the center back seam straight. I'm going to put a placket in the back and pockets on both sides, and I think I'm going to do like maybe about a 1-inch waistband finished. So I'll have to cut it at about 2 inches wide with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to start by cutting this, and I just need to measure out the length that I estimated and then cut the pieces apart. So this fabric is a little squidgy. It wants to kind of move around a little bit, but I am going to straighten out the end by cutting next to this white stripe all the way across, and I'm going to use that as my straight edge to begin with. I don't think this would be good fabric to try to tear, simply because of its texture. It is a twill woven fabric, and that's not so easy to tear. Usually plain woven fabrics are pretty good about tearing, but twill not so much. So I actually got these scissors that I'm using from IKEA. They were probably, I think they were a little less than $8. They have huge blades on them. This is like an 8, so these are probably more like a 9, almost 10-inch blade. And for inexpensive scissors, they're not too bad. They have a pretty sharp edge on them. Now, how long they'll last, I have no idea. You know, if you take care of your scissors, you can have scissors that will last a really long time. I had one pair of scissors, and I don't know what happened to them, that I had for like 25 years. I only use them for fabric, so they lasted a really long time. So my next thing is to measure out how much I need, and then I will cut across there. Now, as I'm marking this, I want to make sure that when I cut, it's at the exact same spot as I did my initial cut. So I cut along this, these 2 white lines, the ones that are together, and I cut next to the narrow one at the top. And that way I should be able to match my plaids as I go down the side. So that's my method of pattern matching. Sometimes I wish I had a really long stick, you know, something longer than a meter stick. Now, I don't have a huge amount left. I've got about, I've got about 11 inches left. I may have to piece the waistband, and I may end up having to make pockets out of something else, but I don't have a problem with that at all. I would rather have the length on the skirt so that it is just at my ankles. I don't want it all the way down to the floor because I am making this as a skirt that I can wear every day. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these pieces, and then I will be back in a minute. So after I cut these panels, they all look the same, but I want to make sure that they're all going the same direction. So I put a safety pin at the top on the right side. That way I know which is the right side and the wrong side. There is a slight difference in the weave. Not much, but there is. And so I put the pin at the top with it faced on the right side, and then I know which one is which. So I'm getting ready to figure out the shape for the front, and in order to do that, because I want to be able to cut this accurately, I am going to pin across this line of the plaid and make sure that it is even all the way across. And this is not an even plaid. It is an uneven plaid. So if you notice, when I went through here, right at that juncture, it did not go to the same juncture on that side, but that's okay. I'm focusing mostly on making sure that the side seams match, and if the side seams match down the side, that will be a good thing. So I need to figure out what my upper waist should be. I want to make sure that whatever amount I choose, it's going to be wide enough when I get to the front hips, because I don't want my pockets to pull at all. So there's going to be a slope down the side. And then I am also going to, I want to shape it out so that it will be the width of the fabric at the bottom, because I want this skirt to be quite full at the bottom. So I am going to pin these at a couple of different junctures down the side so that we have the side seam or the side marks also matched up. And then I'm going to get a long ruler and some chalk, and I am going to cut my skirt out. Now I am going to cut mine out with the seam allowance because that's the way I am used to working, because I generally work directly from patterns that already have the seam allowance in. The difference will be that most commercial patterns have 5/8 of an inch, and I am only going to use a 1/2 inch on this particular thing. So I found this reprint of the Manual of Needlework and Cutting Out, and I absolutely love this. This is for teaching people how to sew, and that's what I do as part of my day job. Is I teach middle schoolers how to sew, and it's really somewhat even hysterical because at the very beginning they have a thimble drill that you have the kids practice putting the thimble on and taking it off and put the thimble on, and then it has a needle drill, which also is like how to hold it in your hand, how to thread it, and so on. This just really tickles me because this is an issue. I don't do needle or don't do thimbles with my students, but trying to get them to hold a needle properly and to thread it is a struggle all the time. And so this to me was really, really funny. But when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with this fabric, because this was something that was gifted to me, and I wasn't quite sure if I had enough to do anything. So in this book, there was a diagram for a women's flannel petticoat, and it gives me the basic shapes that I need to do. I'm not going to put this kind of yoke thing on it. I'm just going to put a straight waistband, and I'm not going to slit the back to put it on. I am going to have 3 panels, so 2 in the back and 2 in the front, and 1 in the front, but I will not have gores. And I'm not sure yet if I'm going to shape the back at the sides. I'm still thinking about that. I think it might hang a little bit better if I do. It'll have a better shape to it. So that's where I got the idea from, and that's what I'm going to do next. So this is an experiment. This fabric was gifted to me. It's not very expensive. It's probably pretty old, actually. And this is a wearable toile for a history bounding kind of thing. So half of my measurement plus seam allowance. I measured down to the widest part of my hips, and it's half of my hip measurement plus seam allowance. And then I angled it down so that from the top here to here is about 24 inches before I ran it into the selvage. So I'm just going to cut along here, and then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with the back. I think I've decided I am going to put a little bit of a slant to the back. My big worry is that the pockets are going to be on both edges of the pocket would be attached to bias, and that they might sag a little bit, and I don't want that to happen. So I could maybe put a stay tape along there. I do have some 1/4 inch twill tape that I could just put right where the pocket is going to be, and then maybe that will keep the pocket from sagging. I hate cutting up in the air, but okay, that is the front. I'm going to make sure that I put my safety pin at the top on the right side so that I remember which one is which. I don't remember who taught me this trick, but it's really a good one if you have a fabric that you can't really tell the front from the back. There is always a slight difference. It's not always exactly the same. And honestly, if you just have to choose a side. So if you use one side and you think it looks the best for the right side, use that side for everything. Don't be flipping your fabrics back and forth, because you'll end up with a slight color difference or a slight texture difference. when I was making or coming up with the idea of this skirt, I thought originally about just using the whole width. And, you know, if this were 45-inch wide fabric, that would be a huge amount. This is actually only 34-inch wide, which tells me that it is not any kind of new fabric. It's been around for a while. It's still in really good shape, though. As I said, I probably need to do a burn test to see what's in it. I'm guessing it probably has some acrylic in it, but it is only 34 inches wide. Not even 36. Normally 36 was the standard way back when. But so I'm going to try using this for doing my pleats in the back. I may end up taking some off the center back. I am going to keep the center back on the straight grain. But if I'm going to take any out, I'm going to take it out of the center back, and then I can just do it straight down. So I basted these seams together on the sewing machine, and I thought I did a pretty good job of matching the plaids, but they were a little tiny off. The other thing was the front panel was too big, and I've got lots of room in the back panel. So I just decided that instead of a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'm going to make it 1 inch, which will take up another 2 inches, or 1 inch across the front and then 1 inch across the back. Anyway, I'm doing this technique that's diagonal basting, and this is something that I learned when I was at university studying clothing and textiles. And what you do is you fold it back to the seam line, and you make sure that you match the plaids at that point. And then, down here I don't have any pins. I'm doing this is a diagonal basting, and I'm taking just a tiny bite out of the folded edge. Then when I fold it over, it'll still allow me to fold it over, and I can stitch at that 1 inch mark. That way these should be matched pretty well. I'm not going for perfect, but I want better than what I had before. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that on the other side seam as well, and down the center back, because the center back, you know, it's going to show. It's not going to show as much on the side seams. It's really going to show down the center back. This is Editing Vicki. I have put teardrop pockets in probably 100 times. But I always put them in before I sew up the side seam. Because my plaid Edwardian-ish skirt I made up, the pattern, I had to do some adjusting of the front panel so that the side seams would hit right at my sides, which means I couldn't put the pocket in until I figured that out. It's a royal pain in the behind to try to put this kind of pocket in after you have done the side seams. I even took them down part of the way to make sure I put them in the right spot. But it's a royal pain in the behind to try to put them in after. In the future, I'm going to baste up my side seams, make sure I have them in the right spots, and then I'm going to take the side seam apart, put the pockets in, and then I can do them the way I want to. I did consider putting them in by hand. That might have worked, but I really wanted to do them by machine because I wanted this project to go faster It's not going faster because I still have one more to put in. Blech. It's cold out here. It's really cold out here. There's even a little bit of snow on the ground. I don't like the cold. I'm going back inside and getting warm. I'm right here, I'm right here. I got my reading glasses on. So I'm really glad to be back inside. It was so cold outside. I don't like cold weather. Give me sunshine. I don't even care if it's 100 degrees, but don't make me go out in the cold. Making this skirt was a lot of fun. It took me a while because I was doing it around doing my teaching videos for my middle schoolers, so it took me a while to get back to it and get finished, but I'm so happy that I did it. It was a learning experience, and even though I have been sewing for over 50 years and I have been teaching for over 20 years, it still was a lot of fun to learn something new. Making those pleats across the back so that they ended up exactly my waist measurement, my back waist measurement, without any pattern was interesting. The pockets are a little too low. They probably could have come up maybe about an inch or two, but I was flying by the seat of my pants. I didn't have a pattern and I didn't drape it. I just took the fabric and cut it and started putting it together. So I have more that I want to do, and I hope you will come along. If you like my videos, please subscribe and hit the little bell so you'll get notified when I do a new one. And for now, bye-bye.